But first, the attack on interfaith harmony is the single most important threat to the world right now. That's according to King Abdullah II of Jordan. The king said this in his keynote address at the inaugural International Conference on Cohesive Societies as part of his state visit to Singapore. Gwenatia with more.
Economic growth, protecting the environment, and providing inclusive opportunities. These are global goals that require cooperation. But the Jordanian king said hate speech and violence, whether religious or otherwise, threaten the ability to unite on these issues, let alone agree. Mapping a way forward, he said it was important to hold positive exchanges worldwide. He also said that just as extremists have made use of technology to recruit and publicize their acts of hate, the moderate-minded must also make use of the online space.
Moderate, positive voices need to reclaim this space and redirect the dialogue away from misinformation, insults and fear, and towards understanding and respect. Young men and women have a vital role in speaking up on social media and social networking sites and using their talent for innovation to promote mutual understanding and hope.
The king also called for sustainable, inclusive solutions to social problems to create societies where people can feel they have a stake. For Singapore, the commitment to safeguard religious harmony, a call to action unveiled on Wednesday, lays out specific ways where people can build bonds with one another. President Halimah Yacob said its use is not confined to religious settings.
This is a commitment that can be also used in different settings, community settings. It can be to reinforce the values of cohesion, the need to preserve peace, harmony, in schools, in workplaces. So I think there is a multiplier effect, and that is something that we want to see.
The three-day conference, mooted by President Halimah herself, brings together more than 1,000 participants from 40 countries. It ends on Friday.
Two bilateral deals between Singapore and Jordan were signed at the Istana this evening. It took place during Jordan's King Abdullah II's third state visit to the Republic. And during this time, he also attended in an interfaith conference and met with business leaders as well. Deborah Wong with this report.
A ceremonial welcome fit for a king greeted Jordan's King Abdullah II when he arrived at the Istana. The king later called on President Halimah Yacob and met with Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. During the meeting with PM Lee, both leaders discussed developments in the Middle East and reaffirmed the strong ties in areas including religious education and efforts to fight radicalization. They also exchanged views on ways to strengthen economic links. Singapore and Jordan have had regular high-level exchanges since 1988, and two new deals were signed during the visit to push for even stronger ties. The first was the establishment of a bilateral consultation mechanism, which aims to enhance communication between officials from both countries. A second agreement on water resources management will have both nations working together on various areas such as water reuse, desalination and wastewater treatment. President Halimah said deals like these are key to foster greater interactions between officials. Interfaith harmony has also been a recurring theme throughout the king's visit, as Madam Halimah first invited him to Singapore to deliver the keynote address at the inaugural International Conference on Cohesive Societies. The king had earlier urged the need to hold global positive exchanges to cooperate on matters like economic growth and peacemaking. He pressed on that point again at the state banquet.
As we look at the challenges, our ties are constantly expanding, and we're looking at new areas for partnership. And again, as we look at the regional challenges of our nation and our region, but also here in the ASEAN region, again, we've had new opportunities and new pages that we can write that brings us much closer together. I want to thank again your government on behalf, I think, of our private sector for the roundtable earlier today and the work that they've done. over the past two days, and identifying opportunities in sectors like ICT, education, green energy, medical tourism and professional services.
During the dinner, Madam Halima commended the king for being a strong advocate for peaceful dialogue amid conflict in the Middle East and for accepting millions of refugees. She also thanked the king for promoting the message of religious moderation and interfaith dialogue.
As a multiracial and multi-religious society, Singapore applauds your efforts and many contributions in this area. It was a great honor to hear Your Majesty's valuable insights at the ICCS. I am confident that your wise words will have a positive and lasting impact, not just in our respective regions, but also in other parts of the world. In an increasingly polarized world, where lines are drawn along ethnic, religious and other identities, we need strong voices of reason and advocates of peace among global leaders to protect our world from disintegrating.
She added that as small countries, both Jordan and Singapore need to remain nimble to deal with challenges in the external environment. This can be done through more business collaborations and economic links.
Singapore is looking forward to further strengthening economic ties with Jordan. This will be in areas such as the digital economy and energy management. That's according to Trade and Industry Minister Chan Chun Sing. Mr. Chan was speaking at a business roundtable attended by ministers and business leaders from the two countries today.
A wide range of issues, including the digital economy and energy and water management, were discussed at the roundtable. Mr. Chan encouraged Jordan to join Singapore on a global common trade and supply chain platform.
He noted that both countries share similar challenges, such as limited access to natural resources like water and energy. 6 agreements were also inked to facilitate trade between the business communities of both countries.
For Singapore and Jordan, both of us can be the respective hubs to our region. We are both relatively small economies, and most investors in our respective economies do not just invest for the sake of the domestic economy, but they use us as a platform, and we welcome the Jordanian partners to use Singapore as a platform to reach out to Southeast Asia and the wider Asia region.
So many similarities between our countries and challenges, and how do we work, as you've identified, looking at the unique capabilities that Singapore and Jordan have to offer as regional hubs. But again, there is a lot of work on our talented workforce where we can come together.